Hey there, folks. I'm Edith, 35, female, and I've been enjoying you guys' stories, and I thought it was time I shared mine. Buckle up because you're going to be in for a doozy. Before I get into it, though, I've been binge watching all these juicy story times on this channel, and then I decided that it's my turn to spill the tea. Let me take you back to the days when I was just a wide-eyed teenager with a dream. No, not the become a girl boss and conquer the world dream. No offense to those living that life. My dream was to be a mom surrounded by a big, happy family. Yeah, call me old-fashioned, but that was what I wanted with all my heart. I worked my tail off in orphanages since my teens, soaking in those motherly vibes. A lot of the caregivers in the orphanages would tell me that I had motherly instincts. And I was a natural when it came to taking care of and handling 7 to 8 kids at a time. I was even considered the mother of the friend group because I was always taking care of everyone. That was just who I was. And then college happened. I was majoring in social studies with a minor in child development. I was well on my way to making sure I could be the best mom I could be. Then I met Morton, the dude studying literature like he was trying to make Shakespeare shake in his boots. We fell in love and life was all sunshine and rainbows. Our families clicked like Legos, envisioning a beautiful, blissful future for us. Morton, being the romantic sap he was, popped the question through a poem, and I, of course, said yes. Now, here's where my life took a turn I never saw coming. Coming from a traditional background, I decided to save myself for marriage, if you catch my drift. With that being said, Morton and I decided not to move in together until we were actually married so as not to get tempted. So we had never lived with each other, meaning I never knew what kind of housemate, partner Morton would be like. So the day finally came and Morton and I said our I do's. The moment was pure magic, like a scene out of rom-com, but oh boy, when we moved in together after tying the knot, the honeymoon phase crashed and burned faster than a paper plane in a storm. Turns out Morton wasn't the knight in shining armor I thought he was. Okay, grab a bag of popcorn because this drama train is just getting started. So picture this. Morton, my literature-loving romantic and sweet husband, turned out to be a complete pig. I mean, he was a total slob, you guys. I'm talking next-level mess like a tornado hit our living room daily. Dirty laundry and dishes everywhere, and the place had this musk that just wouldn't go away. Now, when I tried to address this, Morton pulled out the classic troubled artist card. According to him, the chaos fueled his creative genius. Yeah, right. I'd call him out on it, and let me tell you, those arguments were like a rock concert without the music, loud and chaotic. Morton, we need to talk. Oh, what's up, Edith? It's about this mess, Morton. I can't keep cleaning up after you. It's like living in a garbage dump. Come on, Edith, it's not that bad. Not that bad? I can barely see the floor sometimes. You know I'm a creative soul. This chaos fuels my artistic brilliance. Artistic brilliance? Morton, we're not living in a bohemian fantasy. We're adults. And this place is a disaster. You just don't understand, Edith. This is how I work. You can't expect me to conform to your idea of an OCD-fueled pristine life. I'm not asking for Buckingham Palace, Morton. Just some basic considerations. I mean, seriously. It's like a pigsty in here. It's embarrassing. I can't bring my friends over or host anything. This is my home, too. You think you can understand what's going on in my mind? You wouldn't get it, Edith. I'm dealing with depression, and my creative process is my therapy. Morton, I get it, I really do, but it doesn't excuse you from being a partner in this marriage. We both have to compromise and make an effort. Compromise? You're asking me to compromise my art, my sanity? You can't possibly comprehend the struggle I'm going through. Morton, I want to support you, but you need to meet me halfway. This can't be a one-way street. Maybe you should have just thought about that before marrying an artist, Edith. I didn't sign up for a messy house and a neglectful husband. We need to figure this out together. Well, figure it out, Edith, because this is who I am. And it wasn't just the clutter. Morton had this knack for being a selfish lover. Intimacy felt more like a chore because, surprise, surprise, he never bothered to consider my needs. You know, the basics of any healthy relationship. Now imagine dealing with all this nonsense within the first 6 months of marriage. I was already questioning my life choices, but divorce? Nah. That seemed like the nuclear option, especially so soon. What would my parents think? I couldn't bring myself to even complain to people because this wasn't supposed to happen. And not to me, at least. I was supposed to marry my beautiful husband, live in my beautiful home, and birth beautiful babies. That was the plan. So there I was, stuck in the mess, pun intended, and just not knowing what to do. A whole year had slipped through my fingers, and the resentment within me had grown like an unwelcome guest outstaying its welcome. Morton's dream of becoming the next literary sensation wasn't really panning out as we'd hoped, and I found myself shouldering the burden of our household funds. His excuse? Great art takes time. I didn't doubt his talent, but practicality couldn't be ignored when the bills were knocking at our door. I wanted him to chase his dreams, but we needed stability first. After countless debates, more like arguments, he reluctantly agreed to take a job as a university lecturer. The complaints that followed were as relentless as ever, and the house, already a battlefield, became a war zone. His excuse shifted from creative chaos to exhaustion from work. I countered, reminding him that I too was exhausted, working to keep our lives afloat. Our clashes became a daily routine, a toxic dance of frustration and unmet expectations. Then came that awful day when Morton treated me like the dirt under his shoe. Morton, I need you to pull your weight around here. I'm exhausted from working and dealing with the house. It's not fair that I'm doing everything. Why can't you see how unhappy I am? Edith, you know how important my writing is to me. The job is just a means to an end. Well, the bills don't pay themselves. I'm tired too, you know. Why are you complaining? You love working with kids, so why the hell are you tired? Besides, it's not like it's a real job. Excuse me? Just because I enjoy my job doesn't mean it's not real. I work hard, Morton. I work hard for us. Maybe you should stick to your traditional values and learn to be a quiet, supportive wife. Your constant nagging is getting old. You say you're sick of my crap? Well, I'm sick of yours, Edith. That stung right there. I mean, could you imagine? I was so pissed I didn't want to say something I'd regret later. So I just went straight to bed. Have you ever gone to bed with your face in a permanent scowl? I woke up feeling like my forehead was too tight from all the frowning I was doing. This wasn't what I signed up for, and at that moment, there and then, I told myself that I would go through with a divorce this time for sure. I'd had enough of the constant struggles in our marriage, and it was time to spill the beans. The next morning, still fuming, I decided to lay it all out for Morton. I wanted a divorce. For the first time in ages, I saw panic in his eyes. He started pleading and sobbing, blubbering like a fool, going on and on about how he needed me in his life. It was heartbreaking at the time, but I had to be strong to stand my ground. I told him straight up I couldn't keep taking care of him like he was a baby. I told him that I wanted a husband, not a wimp, and that he needed to get his act together if he ever wanted me to have a baby with him. Morton went into desperation mode, promising to work his butt off writing to bring in some stability. He painted this rosy future where he'd hit the big time and I could quit my job to focus on building the family we'd always dreamed of. I was torn, but I decided to give our messed up relationship another shot. Fast forward 2 years and Morton's writing career did a complete 180. He became a big shot author, landing sweet book deals and getting compared to Stephen King. We were moving up in the world and I was genuinely happy for him. But then, as we settled into our upgraded life, I brought up the idea of actively trying for a baby. Since things were better in the house, we could afford a maid who could help out with the mess that Morton was still making. And we weren't arguing as often because I got to be a housewife like I wanted. I was all excited about the prospect of starting a family. To my surprise, Morton's attitude took a nosedive. Suddenly, he wasn't keen on the whole baby-making idea. When I asked what the deal was, he spilled the beans. He didn't want a baby because he thought I might not be able to support him like I used to. He was afraid that without my support during the drafting process of his upcoming books, he might not hit the same level of success. Babe, I need you. You saw all the good things I did when you're right there by my side. It's true, you all. Part of the reason for Morton's newfound success was, drumroll please, me. That's right, you guys, I was the driving motivation for those horror sci-fi he was putting out. After I decided to give him another chance, I felt like I had to step up as a partner as well, because obviously it takes two to tango. I was the one who would stay up with him, acting as his sounding board and adding to his ideas. I was the one who would read his drafts and give him constructive criticism, and most of all, I was the one always encouraging him, praising him for all the hard work he was putting in. Someone needs to nominate me for Wife of the Year at this point. Anywho, to cut a long story short, I was there through the thick of it. I saw it all, the good, the bad, the ugly. I saw how someone so broken can come out of their own ashes, rising like a phoenix and producing great pieces of art. It was beautiful to witness in the end, I'm not going to lie. So I didn't immediately note what Morton said as a red flag because I thought he was just a bit scared of losing the person who helped him through all of that. Oh, baby, trust me, I get it. But I can assure you I'm still here. I'll still support you and help you like I always have. That's never going to change. You're just getting that thing the authors get. What's it called? Second book syndrome? Right. Second book syndrome. You're psyching yourself out because you think you won't perform as well as the first book. But babe, I've been inside that mind and let me tell you, it's brilliant. I can't wait for what you have in store. Thanks, babe. We're invincible. Don't you forget that. We can have this family and the success from your writing and anything else we want because we can do anything. But I could still see that my husband wasn't happy. He just mumbled another thanks and went to the kitchen to get some cookies. I didn't know what to do except my best, and that's what I did. Years dragged on and Morton and I were still playing the baby-making game. But nothing was happening. I was surprised because I would often get my fertility checked and I would tell Morton to do the same. I would want us to go together, but he was always somehow busy, so I told him that he needed to get his fertility checked so that we could help our chances. We would both come back fine with good levels of fertility, so I was wondering why I wasn't getting pregnant. This was making it hard on me, I'm not going to lie, because every year I celebrated my birthday, I was reminded that I was getting older. And soon enough, I wouldn't be able to have kids. Morton kept telling me that when the time was right, it would happen, but it wasn't doing much to soothe my worries. Time was ticking away and I could feel the pressure mounting. On top of that, Morton's writing career hit a slump. He was losing motivation and he was taking his sweet time producing a new book. But because he had a deadline, he ended up churning out a half-assed excuse for creativity. As you can imagine, this new book didn't live up to the first one, and we were extremely disappointed. This sent Morton into a very dark place, drowning in depression. Once again, I found myself picking up the pieces and being the supportive partner, juggling his crap and mine at the same time, and let me tell you, it wasn't easy. Luckily, the first book's success meant we could still manage comfortably on royalties, at least for a while. But as finances tightened, we had to let go of the maids, so I'm pretty sure you know what that meant. Now I was stuck in a massive, messy house, and it felt like I was back to square one, but with more surface area to clean. Frustration bubbled up, and I confronted Morton yet again for the billionth time, asking him what his deal was. I had held up my end of the bargain, cooking, cleaning, and being his rock, but he wasn't pulling his weight. It felt like I was dating some kind of energy vampire or a zombie. He would just drain and take, and it was so tiring. Resentment crept back in, and to make matters worse, my biological clock was ticking loud and clear. At 29, I was dying to start the family I always wanted, but Morton kept dishing out the same excuses. He promised his mojo would return, and now wasn't the right time for a kid because he needed my support more than ever. I was exhausted, and I didn't want to be with him anymore. The problem was, with no job and a considerable gap in my work history, it felt impossible to leave. I was trapped in a cycle of frustration and exhaustion, desperately wanting to break free, but feeling tied to a man who wasn't even really a man at this point, just a sad sack of potatoes. 5 years rolled by, and there I was, 34 years old, and feeling like my life force had been sucked out by Morton's perpetual taking. Thankfully, a glimmer of hope appeared when a publicist reached out to Morton, offering a chance to revive his career with a memoir. Everyone wanted to hear the sad, sappy story of the failing artist, so it seemed like it was worth a shot. At first he resisted, but with my encouragement, he dove in, claiming he got his groove back. This memoir, or self-help book, as he called it, was supposed to change our lives for good. He promised me that. I was thrilled to see the old Morton resurface, and for a while everything seemed promising. The book was written, published, and became a success, though not as massive as his first, but a success nonetheless. We were riding high on the wave of accomplishment, and things seemed to be going back to normal, but then I stumbled upon something that made my skin crawl. This was abuse. I discovered that Morton had been taking dutasteride, a drug known to decrease sperm mobility. He had never told me about this, and I had found this in the depths of his crusted underwear drawer. Anger surged within me as I realized he'd been preventing us from conceiving this entire time. Words couldn't describe how angry I was, you all. It was a good thing he wasn't home, because if I'm being honest, I don't know what I would have done to him. Livid and unsure of how to handle it, I decided to get back at him in a way that would make him sweat. I swapped his pills with harmless sugar ones that wouldn't affect him. A couple more months went by, and we were still riding on the success of the book. I cannot tell you what possessed me to act so nonchalantly with him, knowing good and damn well that this man has been playing me for years, but I had news that would shatter him. We both came home one day excited to share our news. Little did Morton know my discovery would change the dynamics of our relationship once and for all. "Babe, you'll never guess what happened." "Oh my God, I have good news too, babe. But you first." "Okay, so you know how the book's doing really well? Jane says we might be able to do a book tour in the near future." "What? That's amazing." "That's not all, babe. It's going to be a global book tour." "What?" "We're going worldwide, baby." He picked me up and swung me around, and I told him to be careful and to put me down, and he asked me why, and I said, "Well, you know how we've been trying for a baby, and it hasn't been working?" "Oh, right, babe. I'm so sorry that we haven't been able to." "Well, I'm pregnant." Morton's face fell. He looked like he saw a demon, a ghost, his grandma, the scariest thing imaginable. "What's the matter, babe? Aren't you excited for this?" "Oh, yeah, I am. I'm just so shocked, you know. We've been trying for years." "Crazy how we've been trying for years and now all of a sudden I'm pregnant. Imagine that." Morton awkwardly laughed and said that he had to take a shower because he had a long day. I let him do that, and I was laughing to myself because I had the upper hand in all of this. He must have thought he was going crazy, thinking he had a foolproof plan, but it was me laughing in the end. Several months flew by, and there I was, undeniably pregnant. Everyone around me was supportive except for Morton. With each passing month and each new fruit I compared the baby's size to, Morton seemed to grow more distant. He claimed he needed to focus on his work and the upcoming world tour. It was surprising, considering he was the one afraid I wouldn't have time for him anymore. But now the roles were reversed. I didn't feel bad for swapping out those pills. The least that man could do was give me one child after everything I'd been through. As the months progressed, Morton showed less and less support. When I was 7 months pregnant, he dropped the bomb. He had to go on a world tour lasting 9 months. "What the hell are you talking about?" "It's happening, baby. I'm going on tour and I leave tomorrow." I was shocked and angry. The baby was practically crowning and he wanted to go on a world tour? Not on my watch. When I talked to Jane, the publicist, she mentioned that the tour wasn't supposed to happen for another year. Ever since she found out about the pregnancy, she pushed it back so we could focus on our family, which was very sweet of her. I explained this to Morton, clearly asking for some information to fill in the gaps, and that's when Morton casually said, "I told Jane to put the world tour back on the original scheduling." "What? Are you forgetting that you have a child on the way?" This idiot then told me that he needed to ride his wave of success ASAP, or he would flop again. His words. I told him I needed him for the birth and to help take care of the baby for the first few months, and that's always the hardest part. But Morton wouldn't budge. His flight was in the morning, and there was nothing I could do to stop him. 9 months had passed, and Morton was set to come back from his world tour. During that time, I had given birth to a beautiful baby girl, and I was taking care of her by myself. Having my baby with me brought immense joy. It made all those years of suffering with that idiot worth it, because without those years, I never would have gotten the chance to meet my beautiful angel. Even though I was so happy, I couldn't shake off the anger towards Morton for all the crap he put me through. I kept tabs on Morton, resentfully watching his interviews. In one interview, someone asked him about his feelings about becoming a father. Let me tell you, Morton acted like he was the best father in the world. He claimed he loved that baby to death, gushing about her. It made me want to vomit. Clearly, I had married a psychopath. It was a shame it took me this long to realize it. This was the straw, you guys, the straw that broke the camel's back. I refused to give him any information about the baby, not that he asked about it anyway. His little stunt with those pills and not choosing to be present for the birth and life of our child had pushed me over the edge. I decided to get divorce papers and talk to a lawyer about suing Morton for intentionally withholding information about the pills. I saw it as a form of abuse, and screw anyone who says or thinks otherwise. We were well into the process of getting everything sorted when Morton came home after his world tour. I prepared for his return by ensuring that our daughter was with her grandmother so he wouldn't even get the chance to see her. When Morton arrived, the first thing he said was, "Where's my daughter? Where is she?" "Why, so you can exploit her for money and views?" "Edith, please, I'm not in the mood for this." "Then I'm really going to bust your bubble because you'll never get to see her face." "Oh, yeah? Let's see how well that holds up in court." "Why not? That's when I threw the divorce papers in his face. Morton was utterly shocked when that happened. As he started reading them, his eyes widened, especially when he reached the clause about him hiding the pills. In disbelief, he muttered, "How did you know about the pills?" I couldn't help but laugh, telling him he was an idiot if he thought that I'd never find out. Then I really let him have it, laying out all the crap he had put me through since the beginning, detailing everything and how I'd been there for him, but all he did was make me depressed. Morton tried to defend himself, claiming he was a victim and took those pills because he wasn't ready to become a father. "No, it was because you weren't ready to become a man. I should have known better. I was stupid for ever being with a man like you." I said a lot of things. I called him a crazy, lazy, selfish a-hole. Morton, feeling the pressure, threatened to sue for full custody, saying he was stacked up now and could convince any judge or lawyer to consider him over me. But I dropped the bomb that I had been recording the entire conversation from that moment he walked in. I had his confession, and it would be my trump card in court. "You're crazy, you know that. Where is it?" "It's not even with me right now. It's being streamed to my lawyer right now, and there's nothing you can do about it." I warned him that if he wanted to salvage any bit of his career, he would give me everything I wanted, or I'd release the recording to the public, ruining him completely. Morton broke down sobbing, but I told him to shut the hell up and ensure he had my money prepared. I demanded full custody of my baby, hefty child support, substantial alimony, the house he bought, and a big fat check for all the emotional damage he caused me. Morton could only sit there helpless as I planned to drain him dry the same way he had done to me. To this day, Morton hasn't seen his baby's face, and it will be a cold day in hell before he ever will.